So if you are just catching this in the beginning of the replay, I am going to take about 5 minutes here just to let everyone know that we're live, to share this out in a couple of places online, and just to help everybody get gathered up here and get ready for our moon circle. Hi, Lisa. How are you tonight? Let's see. I'm just going to share over here. All right. All right. Hi, Diane. How are you doing tonight? So that is all shared out. And I'm actually going to grab, actually I should have some right here. I definitely have a pen. I'm going to grab a pen and paper. I suggest that you have something to write with tonight. So you might just have that handy. It's funny that we're in an Aquarian full moon, and my my little notepad I just pulled out says make some waves as money falls out. Make some waves, which is definitely what a full moon does. It makes some waves. So yeah, just make sure that you have something to write with tonight, and then any other tools that you want to have with you. We're going to be forming up a moon circle here with the elements, so you can certainly take in the energy that I have here, or you can have your own tools as well. Lisa says she is good. Awesome. So yeah, if you're just getting signed on, feel free to tell me how you're doing with this full moon. If you are an Aquarius, or if you have Aquarius in your birth chart, sun, moon, or rising, and maybe just let me know if you have any questions or just anything going on in general. I'm gonna make a few notes here just to make sure that I don't forget anything tonight. I wanna make sure to talk about our Vedic astrology. And I want to talk about some of these retrogrades that are happening right now too. Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, Chiron, and we'll talk about Ganesh and Guru Purnima. Diane says she is restless. Yeah, I felt that too today, Diane. I felt very restless. Yesterday I found that I couldn't really focus. I had a lot of mental brain fog. I had a really hard time writing and getting all my channelings out and getting kind of my newsletter created. And then today I have all this energy and I just got to move it through. So I got all the things done by like 11 o'clock this morning. And then the rest of the day I've just been kind of like, I've been digging in the dirt and cleaning the house and just doing a bunch of stuff. So yeah, restless energy I can definitely relate to right now. All right, so I'm just gonna make a few more notes here, make sure that I don't forget anything important that I want to talk about. Okay, if anything comes up, it'll come up, and I'm sorry if you're like riding the waves with me here. I've got my in pure Aquarian fashion, I have my computer balanced on a stack of DVDs right now, and I've been going through some things in my closet, and I don't have my desk in my office right now. So if you're a little bobbing back and forth with me there, I apologize. Okay, so it is 7:35. I think we will go ahead and get started. Others might join in as we continue on here. But before we officially get going in this circle, I'm going to take a nice deep breath. So feel free to join me if you would like. Find some nice supportive posture. Maybe bring your hands to your heart or to your belly or down to your womb. And then when you're ready, sweep those arms overhead. Take a deep inhale and exhale down to the heart. And let's do maybe 2 more of those breaths. Just letting everything go. So welcome. If you are just joining in, it is the full moon in Aquarius, the first one of 2 this year in 2021. And tonight we're going to circle up and talk all about it. And if this is your first time tuning into me, welcome. My name is Vina Lene Rachel. I am a moon priestess, a channeler of the divine, and an intuitive healer. And I hold these moon circles every new moon and full moon, usually here on Facebook, but I also put the recordings up on YouTube and on my website. So if you can't catch the live right now, don't worry. There will be a replay, or you can go to other places aside from Facebook to catch the replay. And of course, if you're catching the replay, welcome as well. And feel free to utilize the comments. Even if you are here after the fact that we're live, I do go back and check everything. So if you have questions, comments, anything that you want to share, please put it in the comments. And for those that are here right now live, feel free to utilize the chat just to share with one another or share with me or ask any questions as well. That's what we're here for. We're here live to interact and share. And in Aquarian energy, it's good to share. So if you're feeling the need to share a story or just share anything tonight in the chat, please feel free. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the full moon to start, just in case you've never had much experience with the full moon or this is your first full moon circle. And the basic thing you need to know right now is that full moons make our energy more heightened in our human earthly bodies. We have 2 energies we experience with our breath. One is prana and one is apana. Prana energy is that feeling at the height of your breath. So when you inhale, if you held that and never let it go, you'd get a little dizzy. That's an example of prana. It's our life force energy. It runs through us at all times. And when we're in full moon energy, our gravity is pulled up more towards the moon. We're pulled up more into the upper parts of our body, and therefore we're pulled up more into our prana. This is why we feel restless in full moons. This is why we feel a little crazy. We're more in our head. We're overactive with the thoughts of our mind. Our emotions might be a little overboard right now. And just as the moon affects the tides, the moon also affects our internal waters, our emotions. So if you're feeling like you want to cry, you want to scream, you want to rage out, any sort of anything on the spectrum, that usually does come up with a full moon, probably because it needs to release from your body. So full moons are a time of release. It's a time when the moon is fully illuminated by the sun. So in other words, here is the earth, here is the moon, here is the sun, and it's beaming down and we can see that light. And that light or that fire is a representation of transformative energy. So we can use those solar light codes. We can use the energy of the sun reflecting off the moon onto us to burn away what we are ready to release right now. We are halfway through the lunar cycle. The moon shifts into a new cycle every 28 to 29 days. And when we're halfway through that cycle, that's when we reach the full moon. So this is also a time to look at the things you need to release that may be blocking you from moving forward towards your goals or from elevating your frequency, anything that's holding you back, tying you down, keeping you stuck, keeping you attached in an unhealthy, negative fashion. It's time to release that stuff now with the full moon. Now, if you're new to the moon, you might be somebody that sets a big goal once or twice a year, maybe on your birthday, maybe at the first of the year, maybe some other time. But with the lunar cycles, you actually have the ability to set new goals and intentions every single month. So whatever goals and intentions you have been working on, whether it be with the beginning of this lunar cycle or whether it be something you've been working on for longer, it's time to look at that and ask yourself, what is standing in the way? How do you break through any sort of obstacle and help yourself continue to move forward and maybe reach those goals or just continue to work on them moving forward? Full moons are also a potent time for us to turn within. It's a time when our shadows are illuminated. It's a time when light is shining down on things that we need to pay attention to that may be beyond like our earthly experience or our two eyes and what we can see. So it's a great time to tune into your intuition. It's a great time to listen to your inner hearing, any messages that may be coming through from your internal self, from any guides, guardians. It's a really good time to just be open to any sort of possibility that kind of leads you to evolution and healing. So with that, I am going to build up our full moon circle using the 5 elements tonight. And this is just something I always do to bring in some extra energy to our sacred space. Now you can use your own tools at home. And if you have some of these tools, you could certainly bring them in, or you could bring them into your own ritual down the road after this transmission, or you can just take in the energy of what I have to share here in my space. Because we are connected through the ether, through this space online, this is a container that withstands time and withstands actual physical containers of space. So when I'm using the energy of these tools in our circle tonight, you are receiving the energy just as much as I am. So let's start with the element of earth. I always like to bring in a crystal or two into my moon circles. And tonight I'm bringing in 2. And the first one I'm bringing in 3 because I also have a selenite wand. But I'm going to be bringing in mystical merlinite. Mystical merlinite. You can see it's kind of a black and white stone, or a gray and black stone, speckled. And mystical merlinite is really good for helping you to work in the dream space or the meditative realms. It's also a great stone for helping you to believe in magic. Think about Merlin, right? Sword in the stone. So we have the ability to believe in magic right now. This is an Aquarius full moon. We'll talk more about Aquarius energy in a moment, but Aquarius energy is kind of out of this world. Aquarians think outside of the box. They have a different perspective on life. They kind of view this earthly life experience or life journey in a different way than most, in a very free-spirited way as well. So when we use this mystical merlinite in our circle tonight, we're inviting ourselves to open up to the magic of different possibilities and perspectives. I'm also bringing in labradorite. Speaking of out of this world, I have a nice, huge labradorite slab thanks to one of my clients and students and a good friend of mine now gifting this to me. So this has been in my office, but you can see that shine there. And this is formed in Labrador, Canada, and it comes from meteorites. Meteorites? I never know how to say that. It comes from things from space crashing into Earth, and it forms. Might even be an asteroid? Meteoroid. I'm not going to get hung up on it, but that's what it is. So this is an otherworldly stone in a way, and it kind of carries that otherworldly magic. Labradorite is really good to help us with our meditative realms as well, just helping us to open up our third eye and helping us to hear and see things from the other side. I'm also bringing in the earthly element of white sage, just simple white sage tonight, and I'm going to combine that with the element of fire. When we do this, we create the third element, smoke or wind, and you can start to see that now coming off of here. So it's always a good time to smudge during a full moon, just to help with that cleansing process, releasing any stuck energy, any blockages, helps to purify your spaces as well. We know now that smudging smoke helps to cleanse the bacteria and the microbes in the air, viruses as well, in addition to any negative energy or energy that doesn't serve. So I'm just letting that smoke go to you. I'm also smudging the tech that I'm using to connect to you with. I'm just making sure that this is a pure space, that our transmissions come through clearly without distraction. And then just smudging myself, getting rid of any distractions. I actually just did a Reiki with a client like half an hour ago, and it was pretty intense. So I do want to make sure that I'm clearing everything out. And then also, of course, in my space. And if you're new to smudging, by the way, make sure that you always have a window open or a door cracked, some way for the smoke and air to leave, along with all of that icky negative energy that you're trying to get rid of. So I got a little crack in my office window right now. Yeah. And actually that's starting to burn out already. So we must not need to cleanse very strongly. Sometimes the smoke will really burn if you need to cleanse. So I'm just going to leave that there. Okay, let's talk about the element of water. I always try to bring in some sort of essential oil. Tonight we are working with the essential oil of lime. Lime is the oil of the zest of life. Aquarians are all about spontaneous, exciting, adventurous energy. And we're also in the season of Leo, which is a very kind of like party animal type of energy. So this full moon is more exciting than some others that we may experience. We might be feeling really social right now, or we might be feeling like a need to like go on an adventure or do something fun and wild, free-spirited, spontaneous, and lime can really help you with that. So I love to throw lime in my diffuser when I'm trying to uplift my frequency or boost my mood, or I also love to use lime. I'll actually put it right on my heart space or right on my pulse points just to get myself excited, to boost my energy. And a lot of times I use lime when I am trying to plan adventures, when I'm trying to plan trips, or any sort of excursions, or any sort of travel. I usually get lime involved to get me excited about planning the trip and the details and the itinerary. So I just encourage you to use lime if you are needing to find that zest of life yourself, or if you're just needing to uplift your mood. Now I do have a bonus water element tonight. I am bringing in some kombucha. It's actually what I'm consuming tonight. This is the guava goddess, representing that Venus and Virgo energy we're in. But kombucha is really good to consume during a full moon because parasites and yeast are more active right now. So do you ever get, okay, number one, if you're a woman, if you tend to bleed with the full moon, you might find that you get some of those menstrual cravings, right? Like the chocolate and the snacks, the salty stuff, the popcorn, whatever you typically crave, greasy food as well. That's because if you're bleeding with the full moon, you're really aligning with the full moon and that overactive candida. You can also, if you're just typically craving more sweets right now, more sugar, or more grains, you might be dealing with a parasite that is extra hungry right now. So you just want to make sure that you're taking care of your gut health during the full moon, and kombucha is a really great way to do that. So it is a fermented tea. If you're not familiar with what kombucha is, you can get it at most grocery stores this day. And it's really good for helping out the good microbes in your gut, helping them thrive, and kind of gets rid of the others. It's really good to help balance your pH as well, which helps with candida growth. So I highly suggest that maybe during this full moon portal, if you're feeling a little weird digestively, if you've got some cravings that aren't necessarily healthy for you, maybe grab a kombucha and drink that instead. This is also a great substitute for alcoholic drinks. So it does have just a minor bit of alcohol in it, like a less than 1% from the fermentation. But if you're somebody that's maybe trying to quit drinking or trying to drink less, or you want to still be in social situations but you don't want to drink, you could always have a kombucha instead, and you feel like you're not necessarily missing out. This is also a great substitute for soda, although it's not going to give you that sweet taste like soda. It's a fermented tea. It's a very different taste. But Aquarius energy is about different things and different perspectives. So if you've never tried it, maybe you'll want to try it with this full moon. So you mentioned the elements of earth with our crystals and our smudging, the element of fire to light our smudging stick, the element of the element of smoke or wind with the smudging smoke, and the element of water with our oils and our kombucha. The fifth element is the ether. I already mentioned it. It's the space that we're sharing together and a space that withstands time. So if you're catching the replay, you're still getting all the magic of the live transmission. And, the more people tune into this, both presently and in the future, the more elevated the energy becomes in this space that we're holding here right now. So with that, our elemental circle is sealed, and now I'm just going to call on the guides and guardians of the directions to be with us as well. So you can join me in this prayer or this meditation, or you can just take a moment to breathe and relax while I do this. So I'm just going to take this wand and bring it over and down. And I will also call in the guides and the guardians of the East, asking the element of air to be here, bringing in feelings of new beginnings or starting over or beginning again. And also bringing in the energy of the light, the sun, the dawn of a new day. In this time when solar energy is so strong with the full moon, we thank the guides and the guardians of the East for being here. We also call on the guides and guardians of the South, that element of fire, transformation energy. And we ask now that as that fire burns and these guides and guardians of the South are here, that we trust in this process of burning away and letting go. That we trust that the release is for our greater good and will help us to move forward. And we thank the guides and guardians of the South for being here. We also call on the guides and guardians of the West with the element of water, bringing in a feeling of purification and cleansing, a washing away of what no longer serves, and also bringing in that Aquarian energy of the water bearer, dealing with our emotions, helping us to understand ourselves better. So we thank the guides and guardians of the West for being here. And we also invite in the guides and guardians of the North, that element of earth, ancestors, the generations that have been here before. We ask that you share the wisdom that we need to know from the stories of our past and our elders, that we find the deep wisdom so that we can heal, so that we can change, and so that we can raise the collective. And so we thank the guides and guardians of the North for being here. And we also call on the guides and the guardians of the cosmic realms and the other dimensions and the spaces beyond this planet. These beings of light that have so much guidance to give us, so much protection, so much wisdom, so many messages coming through to help us. Acknowledging this air and ether element where we communicate, where we understand. We thank the guides and guardians of the cosmic realms for being here as well. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. And with that, our circle is officially sealed. And we're going to talk a little bit about this full moon in Aquarius. So Aquarius energy, it's the sign of the water bearer, although it is not a water sign. Sometimes this can be confusing. We think aqua, we think water, right? Or water bearer, water energy. This is actually an air sign. It's a sign of the intellect or a sign of the ether. And the water bearing, or the vessel that the Aquarian pours out of, is really symbolic of her sharing her story, sharing her wisdom, sharing the things that she's been through. Aquarius travels from community to community, group to family, person to person, taking the stories that she collects along the way and then spreading them forth to the rest of the world. She helps us to learn culture. She helps us to understand others better. And she helps us to see a different perspective or another side. So this is a beautiful portal to learn about somebody else or someone else's culture if you've been wanting to, or maybe there is a misunderstanding of culture. This is a really great time to be to open yourself up to learn more and to see everybody in a different light, basically. This is also a really beautiful time to share your own story. There might be others who could benefit from your story. And it's important for you to come to terms with your story as your story that is meant to be your story, if that makes sense. We all have darkness. We all have regret. We all have things that we've done in the past. We all have things that we've been through in the past. We probably all have trauma. And we all have a story behind that. And we can be the victim of that story, or we can be the author of that story. Now, those things happen to us regardless, but it's the way that we spin it, right? It's how we share that story to the outer world that makes a difference. So in my own situation, in my own life, I could talk about how 9 years ago, I lost my job. I was not doing anything like this. I was a corporate sales manager. I was a multi-store manager, ran a couple of stores in different districts. And I ended up losing my job literally very suddenly, very surprisingly, was not expected. And when I lost my job, I was in another country where I could not work another job because I was only allowed to work that one. This is a very complicated situation. And it made me have to really kind of scrape and struggle for a while. I had to go across the border into America. I was living in Canada at the time. Luckily, I was close to the Michigan border, so I had to go across all the time and like wait tables and bartend and just try to like make a living and get by. And for a couple of years, I really felt like a victim of my story. I really felt like I had to struggle and that, you know, things weren't fair, the way that I lost my job, and that shouldn't have happened to me. And I was very angry with it. I was very angry in the way that I was let go and the reasons behind it. That were kind of out of my control. It was more from a corporate standpoint, decisions that they had to make. But it was almost like a personal jab as well, because I had never like been let go of from a job before. So I was like, what's wrong with me? Or, you know, that sort of thing. So down the road, however, if I had not lost that job, I would not be where I am today. Because when I lost that job and I had to figure out what the heck am I going to do, I decided to start doing something that I really loved, which was fitness. And I became a certified fitness instructor, and I started teaching fitness on the side. And then pretty soon I got into yoga and I became a yoga teacher, and then I wasn't bartending anymore. And then I was just teaching yoga. And then I decided that energy healing was really interesting to me. So I started learning about that, and then the moon and astrology, and it kind of snowballed. And my story of losing my job and all of that started to turn into a story of excitement and adventure and gratitude, because it put me on the path where I am today. Now, if I would have continued to be a victim of that story, if I would continue to tell that story with anger, with frustration, with a lack of forgiveness, maybe with an attachment to those negative frequencies and energies, then the universe would not give me more. The universe would continue to give me situations that would dish out the same thing and the same emotions and the same experience, because that's what I'm putting my energy on. But when I put my energy on gratitude and say, wow, because of that experience that really shook up my world, look at where I am today, the universe goes, yes, yes, child. You have learned your lesson. You have learned that every experience can be for the better, can be for the good, but we have to embrace it. So that's kind of the energy that we're in right now with this full moon. It's a time to really look at our story and figure out how to spin it to make ourselves have more power over it, or, you know, turn it into a comedy instead of a tragedy, right? Aquarius energy with this water-bearing sign can also represent a transmutation of emotions. So water energy is our emotions in our body. It's our sacral chakra. It's the way that we feel. It's the way that we express. And Aquarian energy has an ability to kind of hold space for the expression of those emotions. She's also able to take those emotions because she's neutral territory. She doesn't have an opinion either way. She's a space holder. She takes those emotions in, she holds them in her vessel. And when she re-pours them out, she pours them out so that you can see things in a different perspective. Maybe she shines light on these experiences and these emotions so that you start to understand them in a different way, or you understand your programming or your ability to respond in a certain way. Maybe you understand your behaviors differently. This is the power of Aquarius energy. So this full moon in Aquarius, in a time when our emotions are heightened, in a time when energy is, more towards that prana, more towards our head, more into us overthinking. This might be a time to really slow down, breathe with those emotions, take time with those emotions, and alchemize them and feel differently about them moving forward. If you cannot do this by yourself, or if this is something that's complicated, talk therapy is a beautiful thing to do right now. Tell your story to a neutral person, just as, the stories are told to the Aquarian. Tell it to somebody else that can flip it, spin it, and shift the perspective and pour it right back to you. Okay. What else can we talk about with Aquarius energy? Well, I'm curious to know if anybody on this transmission knows an Aquarius. Actually, I know Diane's on this transmission. She said her daughter's an Aquarius. I don't know if anybody else here is an Aquarius or knows one, but they're a little out of this world. They're the aliens of this planet is the way that I describe them, because they just don't have a problem just seeing all the possibilities and all the magic. And life is just like, yeah, that could happen. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, let's go. It's an adventure. And that's kind of the way that they are. Aquarian energy is very spontaneous. So there's a lot of Tristan, you're an Aquarius. I love it. And I love that you're here on this circle. Aquarians are outer worldly, and they kind of think outside the box, and they just understand that there's other things out there, that there are aliens out there, that there are magical beings out there, that there are angels and archangels and holy light beings and just everything. Do you feel like an alien, Tristan? I'm curious if you, and I know I've known you for a very long time, but do you feel, especially as a kid, did you feel, it's probably why we got along so well, because we were both kind of weird, right? But did you feel a little weird? Did you feel a little like, I am not from this planet? I feel like that's kind of how Aquariuses are. The spontaneity of Aquarius energy, though, can be really fun. And this is kind of a weekend, or this portal is a time to embrace adventure and have fun. So you might have some spontaneous opportunities come up for you, or some very spontaneous situations that you can take advantage of happen in the next few days. And my guidance is to jump on that, to do it, to go on the ride, and to kind of like let go of your attachments to your usual patterns and ways of behavior, because those are very structured, and that is not Aquarian energy. Aquarian energy is a little scattered. It's a little all over the place. So, invite yourself into that possibility of openness where there's a lot of potential and anything can happen, because you might find by shifting your perspective and doing something differently or doing something new, you gain a new light, or you gain a new wisdom or a new experience for the better out of it. Yeah, she says all the time, and I still do. Definitely. So Aquarius energy is, it definitely feels like we're out of this world. But one of the great things, Tristan, is we are in the age of Aquarius now. So in the great conjunction that happened with winter solstice in December of 2020, we shifted from the age of Capricorn into the age of Aquarius. This is something that shifts every so many thousands of years. And the last time that this happened, this particular conjunction, was when we shifted from the medieval to the Renaissance period. In other words, we shifted from a dark age to a light age. So we are shifting away from the dark age of Capricorn, a very structured energy. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, like the high school principal planet, lots of hard lessons to learn. And now we're kind of moving into more of like an expansive light energy, a great awakening, and understanding that there are things beyond this earthly realm, that there are more possibilities than how we are living now, that we just have to think outside the box to get there, right? And I think it's really interesting right now that this particular week, as we move into this Aquarian energy, that we are having a literal space race between some of these guys out there, right? So it's a time to start thinking outside the box and start to see beyond this earthly planet. And I think that anybody on this circle is doing that by tuning into the moon, tuning into astrology, and kind of seeing what that's all about. Okay, so I think that's all I really have to say about Aquarius. But if you're wanting to honor this energy right now, or energy that you may experience, it's a very fun, excitable energy. You know, give yourself the opportunity to be excited. Go on an adventure. Take those risks or take those opportunities. This is also a time for you to really write down your story or share your story. Maybe you just need to do some journaling with yourself and kind of write out your own experience. A lot of times when we write down our story, we can really start to see things in a different light. This is also a time to learn new things. So Aquarian energy being that big air mental energy, it's a time where you can soak up a lot of wisdom and knowledge right now. So if you've been wanting to learn something new, this might be the time that you want to start taking that adventure or sign up for that. I know for myself, I have been kind of feeling the need to take a new online course about something. And today I was presented with the opportunity to do a Vedic astrology course, which I'm super excited about. And it's at a very affordable price for me. So I'm going to be signing up with that. With this full moon portal, because I think that it's the right time. So that's just an example of how you could take advantage of this energy. It's very spontaneous. It just came along. It popped up today as I was watching a YouTube, and I was like, oh, hey, I want to do that. And I'm feeling very spontaneous and Aquarian, and like, yeah, I'm going to sign up for that and do that. How else can you honor this energy? I think really just with a little bit of empathy and grace around your past. There's going to be a deep healing of the past possibly and your story and the way that you're shifting it. And there also might be a little bit of reconciliation around relationships. So if you have some relationships that you're needing to change or transmute or let go of, this full moon is the energy to do that with. So if there are no more questions about Aquarius energy, we're going to jump over to the eastern side of the world, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Vedic astrology of this moon. I just mentioned that I'm about to take a Vedic astrology course, and with that, I think it's the perfect time to mention that I am no Vedic astrology expert, at least not yet. Maybe after this course I'll have more in-depth confidence about it, but it's just something that sparks my interest. I went to India about 4 years ago, and during that time I learned about Vedic astrology. I was already very interested in Western astrology or tropical zodiac, and so learning about this side of things or this other perspective of the stars was just something I was naturally attracted to. So over the past couple of years, I've been studying Vedic astrology with each moon, kind of understanding the different lunar mansions. And then I always talk about it in my transmissions because I think that it relates a lot to the Western side of the world and what's going on there. So in the Vedic side of things, we are in Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra. A nakshatra is a lunar mansion or a constellation of stars that houses the moon. And there are almost 30 of them. I believe there are 27 altogether, if I'm right. But this nakshatra, Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, is represented by an elephant's tusk or Lord Ganesha. So I've got Ganesha here on my tank. If you can see him, there he is. Ganesha is the elephant deity, and he's the remover of obstacles. So he swings his elephant trunk and kind of takes things out of the way with ease, or he might stand in your way and make you take a different road or a different path around. This is the energy that he emits, or the energy we can embrace when we think about Ganesha. So when we are in Uttara Ashadha energy, or in that lunar energy, we are being invited into removing obstacles, removing things in the way of us reaching our goals and intentions. So this needs to be done with a trust that it can be performed with ease, that it's easy to swing your trunk and wipe it away, that it won't be the same because elephant power is strong, right? Or if you've taken that different path, you can't go back. The elephant's still going to be there. When you take that different path, you have to just keep going. Uttara Ashadha is also represented as the later victory. That's kind of how it's translated in Sanskrit. And it can be a description of kind of justification or ultimate universal truths coming out. Uttara Ashadha is ruled by the Vishvadevas, which is kind of a group of celestial beings that teach us lessons, if you want to think about it that way. So this full moon in Aquarius is shining a lot of light on big universal truths and justifications that need to come forward. Now, this could be on the collective, and I think we are really starting to see a lot of things on the collective as far as, what am I trying to say here? As far as like justification and righting wrongs. If you don't know, in Canada, just this past week, they returned the bodies of all of the school children that were buried very disrespectfully in the Indigenous schools. They have now returned those children's bodies to their land, and they were laid to rest, and their spirits were laid to rest in ceremony this past week. That can be a good example of righting a wrong or justification. Those are the things that are going to be coming out right now, not only with this full moon, but really for the next month or so, because we have 2 Aquarian full moons this year, which is very rare. And we're in the age of Aquarius, this great awakening, this bringing of light, this sharing of stories, this gaining of wisdom and knowledge, this transmutation of emotions. So all of this is really going to start to come out and come to light in the next month or so, not just during this full moon portal. So if you have anything in your own life that you need to kind of right a wrong, if you need to ask for forgiveness, if you need to forgive somebody else, it's time to justify all of that. It's time to let go of the attachments to the old stories, to the old suffering, to the old ways, so that you can move forward, so that you can be lighter. A lot of times when we are trying to right wrongs of our past, whether that be a relationship or something that we did or an experience, it can be a really big struggle for us because our ego wants to stay attached to the story. So we have to learn that if we can move beyond that, if we can let go of that attachment, there can be a great awakening that can come with it, and a great change that comes with our overall perspective on how we move forward and, kind of maybe approach the same situation in the future. So this moon also in the eastern side of the world, and in Hinduism, it's known as Guru Purnima. And it basically means the celebration of the guru. So this is a full moon where we are celebrating our teachers. And this is our teacher. These are our teachers that we actually have in life. This is a time when I acknowledge all of my teachers in my yogic path and in my spiritual path. But this is also a time to acknowledge the other teachers of our life, our hard knock life experiences, right? The things that we have been through, turning to nature to learn great life lessons and wisdom. When I was 21, I went through Hurricane Katrina, and my family and I lost most of our belongings, and we lost our home. That was a huge life lesson from nature to let go of attachments, which I had a very strong traumatic bond to attachments because of just some trauma in my childhood. But nature taught me to let go of that. So we can look to nature for our guru. And we can also look to cosmic bodies, beings of light. If you've had an experience with an angel, or you might see like Jesus as your guru, or Krishna as your guru, we can go beyond this earthly realm. And then we also see it inside of us, okay? So the real guru is us, ourselves, our internal light. Guru means dispeller of darkness. So every time, sisters and brothers, that you self-heal, every time that you dive into your shadow work and you shine light, every time that you find gratitude for your past experiences that you at one point did not find gratitude for, those are ways for you to be your own guru, to heal yourself, to teach yourself, and to help yourself dispel the darkness. So this is a beautiful full moon to give yourself credit for all that you have been through. I do not see this beautiful sister on here tonight, but Beth, if you catch this replay, I just think about the post that you wrote today. She's a beautiful sister who is a single mom and has worked her butt off, and her daughter is now almost 18, and she's just seeing how strong she is, and she's learning a lot of life lessons, reflecting back today in this portal, and that's perfect full moon Aquarian energy. We're looking back at the past, or we're looking in that Guru Purnima energy, and we're looking at the wisdom and what can be taught to us out of our experiences. So during this full moon, give yourself time to, again, revisit your story, just like that Aquarian energy, and find the big lessons, find how you've been taught, and then give gratitude and acknowledgement to all of your teachers, no matter who or what they are. So I think that is it in regards to Vedic astrology. If you have any questions, please let me know. I don't want to talk about it too much there, and we are coming up close to our hour here. We've got about 15 to 20 minutes left here, and I try to not go over an hour. So if you have anything you want to say, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to touch briefly on the retrogrades that we're going through right now, just so you have a little bit of insight. I can bust out my inner guru and my teacher hat. I am a teacher. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then we're going to do a mantra chanting exercise. And then I'm going to do a tarot reading. So let's talk about the planet retrogrades. After I get this drink, I've got to wet my whistle. This air energy has me very dry right now. So I'm a Libra, I'm an air sign, and if you are an air sign, Tristan, you might be feeling extra dry right now too. Just make sure that you're staying hydrated right now if you're extra air. Okay. So we got a lot of retrogrades going on. I could spend a lot of time talking about them, but I'm only going to touch for just a few minutes on each planet. Neptune is in retrograde. Neptune is in retrograde for a while, and it is the planet of illusion and dreams. When Neptune is in retrograde, we are able to tune into the other side. The veil is thin. Bring in the Aquarian full moon, which is also outer worldly, right? You've got a really strong energy to connect to the other side right now. You also have a strong energy over the next few months to connect to the other side, or to do a lot of dream work or connect in your dreams. If you are a Pisces right now, you might be experiencing strong messages come through because Neptune is your ruling planet. Saturn is also in retrograde. Now, Saturn is, kind of like the high school principal. If you ever heard of your Saturn return, these are big life lessons that you learn like once a decade. And when Saturn is in retrograde, we are looking back at all of the big lessons we've learned. We are taking hindsight, we are shifting our perspective, and we're going, wow, that big thing changed me. Wow, that big thing changed me too. That big thing changed me. And they all changed me for the better. And that's the key. When Saturn goes into retrograde, you're given an opportunity to hold gratitude for those big life hard knock lessons that you've gone through. Jupiter is also in retrograde right now. Jupiter is the largest planet. It's the planet of expansion. It rules Sagittarius. It's a jolly, fun planet, and its light grows brighter and brighter the more retrograde it spins backwards. So right now we have an increasing amount of light. In fact, we are in the midst of summer. If you're here in North America, we are in the middle of Leo season, which is ruled by the sun. Uttara Ashadha is also ruled by the sun. And we are in a strong solar energy to really kind of glow up right now. Jupiter retrograde gives us an opportunity to believe in our expansion and abundance and take advantage of all the opportunities that could help grow that. So as I mentioned, in the spirit of spontaneous Aquarius, you might have some wonderful opportunities come your way right now or in these next few months, and those could be for your growth and for your greater good. The last one I want to talk about is Chiron. Chiron retrograde. Chiron is an asteroid known as the wounded healer. Some astrologers use Chiron, some don't. I do. Chiron teaches us lessons, and also helps us to look back on our wounds. So when Chiron is in retrograde, you want to look at some of your deep-seated traumas and wounds that you have, whether those are physical or whether those are emotional or whether they're energetic. But when you look back at those, it's time to really find how you can self-heal. What is the medicine that you are seeking right now? And if you feel lost on that journey and you're not sure what the answer is, I promise you that if you will just take time to slow down, to meditate, to close your eyes, invite that answer to come into a dream, get yourself into a different brainwave state. But when you invite in that question of what is my medicine? What do I need right now? Then you can really get an inner message on what you need to heal. It could be something as simple as something in your diet. It could be a particular crystal. You might need to go to therapy. You might need to go talk to a certain person. You might need Reiki. That you might be told to work with a certain plant medicine. The universe has wonderful ways of communicating with us, but we have to be open to those messages and to that other option for self-healing instead of being reliant on others to heal us instead. Was that a quick enough rundown? I think that's it. Okay, I want to do a chanting practice. I want to bring in the energy of Ganesh tonight because Ganesha is not only the remover of obstacles, but he is the deity of childhood and childlike innocence and play. And that's very much the spontaneous Aquarius energy and also the Leo energy as well. So I've mentioned this a couple of times. We're in the solar season of Leo, and whatever the season that the sun is in, the full moon will always be the opposite of that. So Leo is the opposite of Aquarius on the zodiac wheel, and that's why we also have that influence coming in right now. So when we chant to Ganesha, we're inviting in childlike innocence and creativity. We're inviting in play and imagination. We're inviting in fun, and we're inviting in removing obstacles, embracing all of those emotions, removing obstacles with ease, removing obstacles in a fun way, removing obstacles in a playful way, or embracing that childlike imagination to do something different or to be weird or to go a different path without the worry of judgment of others, right? So I'm going to do this chant slow, and then you can join in with me. We'll just do it for a few minutes. But if you're new to chanting to Ganesha, or if you're new to chanting, know that this is not something that we're doing that goes against faith or religion. We're simply acknowledging this symbolism, this archetypal energy. Basically, Ganesha tells us a certain story, gives us a certain energy. And when we chant that out loud, we're acknowledging that energy. So we're acknowledging our inner elephant. We're calling on our inner elephant to come out, to have fun, and to get rid of things that are in our way. Okay? So the chant is Om, O-M, Gum, G-U-M, Gana Pataye, G-A-N-A-P-A-T-A-Y-E, Gana Pataye, Namaha, N-A-M-A-H-A. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And what this means is, oh Ganesha, I acknowledge you, or I acknowledge the energy of Ganesha, or I call upon elephant power. That's all you can think about, if that helps. So I'm going to start slow, and you can join me. We'll do this for a few rounds, and then we'll just sit in silence and let it absorb in. So whenever you're ready, you maybe place your hands on your belly, or I'm going to place my hands there on my elephant. And we're going to start with Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. We're going to go a little faster. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 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 One more time. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And relax. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Notice what comes up. Notice how you feel. Let it all sink in. And just relax. When you're ready, blink your eyes open. I got a little sweaty there. I feel like I was removing some sort of obstacle within my body. I've been having some swollen lymph nodes as a response to some skin allergies that I've been going through for quite some time, which are finally all better. If you've been tuning into me for a while, my hands are finally healed. Everything is better, but I've had some health stuff with that I've been worried about. So I feel like I was kind of like removing that obstacle or removing that worry and embracing my ability to self-heal. That's what was coming up for me. But you might have had something come up, something that you need to remove, an obstacle. You might have seen a new path or a new inspiration or a motivation, or you might have just felt playful and spontaneous. So the different energies can come up when we chant to Ganesha, but you can always do that longer or find a chant online to follow if you want to do this more after the transmission. So if you have something to write with, I think that this is important to do right now as well. We're going to do just a little quick activity here. If anything came up in the meditation just now, the chant, or if anything's been coming up throughout this circle tonight, I want you to write it down. I want you to write down all of the things that are coming up that you need to get rid of. Things that are standing in your way of joy, of imagination, of being able to live this life in a playful fashion. Is anything standing in your way of your goals? Is anything standing in your way of being in a good mood and being in a good frequency? What's standing in your way of holding gratitude for your past, etc., etc. So let's just take like 1 to 2 minutes and we're going to write this down. And I just want you to write down everything that you want to let go of. And if you don't want to do this now, you can certainly do it later. But I find when we all do it together, it can be really powerful. And different things can come up that we might have not thought about before just because we're in that collective energy of release. Trying to think if there's anything else right now for me. I'm sure there'll be more after this transmission. So maybe take another minute or two to write down anything if you need to. I'm going to grab a quick drink of water. I'm going to get the tarot cards ready for this reading and then we'll keep going. Okay. So you've got a couple of options with what you're ready to release on this piece of paper. You can burn this. If you have safe fire practices, you could burn this. When you burn it away, it's that transformational energy. It's not going to look the same. You're not going to be able to see that list or whatever you wrote down again, which means that it has moved on to turn into something else. You could also rip this all up into a bunch of pieces and let it float away in the air of the wind, although it's probably not good to litter now that I think about that. If it's biodegradable paper. I try to think that paper kind of like goes into the earth, right? So you could certainly bury this into the earth as well. Or you can connect it to water. So you could tear it up or you could crumble it up and you could put it in a stream of water. You could flush it down the toilet. Whatever you want to do to transform this piece of paper so that it is not the same anymore. This is a kind of symbolic way for you to let go of your obstacles and help you to move forward on your path. Now, I've had you write it all down, and you might even want to make a copy before you destroy this one, because we do have that second full moon in Aquarius coming up in a month. And when we revisit that same energy, we're going to be revisiting anything that's still sticking around. So anything that might still be on the list from this moon a month from now, we're really going to make sure to release it next time. Okay, I think that is it. as far as what I have for you, aside from a tarot reading, if you have anything for me, if you have any questions about anything I've covered tonight, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to dive into the tarot reading tonight, which I also always do on our moon circles. Okay, I don't see any comments at the moment. So I'm going to take a deep breath just to reset my energy, and then I'll do this reading. And then once we're done, we'll seal our circle, release the guides and guardians, and say goodnight. Just thanking the cards for giving us the messages that we need to hear tonight. Calling on the energy of these cards to help us to gain deeper wisdom and receive guidance on how to move forward towards our greatest good. So tonight I have pulled from the Tarot of the Divine. And the reason I did this is because there's a great book that comes with it called Beneath the Moon. And in the spirit of Aquarian storytelling, I wanted to share the stories with each one of these cards. So there's these beautiful fairy tales and myths from around the world. That's what this book is. And I just love it. And I pulled a past, present, and future card. So maybe we'll just start there. So for the past card, I pulled the Three of Cups, but I pulled it inverted. So this is what it looks like usually. Three of Cups, but we've got it upside down. And I think this really represents the retrogrades that we're in right now. So this is a past card, and the Three of Cups typically represents a time of fertility, a time of fun and play, relationships. It could be a time of partying. It's a time of celebration. But when it is an inverted card, it shows up kind of in the opposite of that way. So the representation of our past, isolation, right? We went through a pandemic and we had to be locked down. The lack of fertility, the lack of being able to be in a relationship as much. There might have been a severing of relationships over different thoughts of opinion. That's happening a lot right now. So this past card is telling you to kind of look back at the way your life used to be, right? Full of all of these people, full of all of these plans, full of all of these events and excitement, and ask yourself, where do you need to make the change? Not all of those things of the past can sustain moving forward. There's a reason we've had this huge cosmic collective shakeup on planet Earth, right? It's because it's time to let go of some of our old ways. So during this full moon, look back on your past. Look back on your previous ways of living, also the choices that you've made, maybe choices that have helped you to live a fertile, abundant life, or choices that have maybe gone to your detriment. But learning to find the wisdom amongst all of it. Okay, so the story that goes along with this card, I'll show you the picture again. Of course, I almost lost it. Okay, so you've got these three women dancing here, and this is a Hindu mythological story or Cambodian story, and these women here are actually celestial beings. So they're almost like deities or goddesses, and they typically only associate with with their male consorts in the celestial realm or the spiritual realm. However, the queen of these beings, she kind of wants to live a different life or take a different perspective. And so instead of marrying or joining up with one of these male celestial beings like all of her daughters and sisters have done, she decides to come down to planet Earth and find a partner there. And she ends up finding a sage, and they get married, and Lord Shiva blesses them, and they have many children from there, and it's a beautiful life. But it took this queen or this ruler shifting her perspective, kind of humbling herself a little bit, kind of coming down to planet Earth and really looking at this life for what it is and the reality of it, and saying, yeah, I kind of want to learn these lessons. I kind of want to live this life instead of the life I have been living. So this is an opportunity for us to look at our spiritual selves, to look at our light being selves, and to remind ourselves that everything we went through in the past, actually this came up in my Reiki session tonight, every choice we've made, every experience we've gone through in the past that has been traumatic or dispelled cultivated some sort of darkness or caused you to have some sort of negative attachment. It's important to understand that your light body, your spirit, chose that. Your spirit chose this life, chose to come down into this earthly body, chose to come to planet Earth and learn the hard knocks. So look at these things you've done in your past. Look at the choices, look at the decisions, look at the results, and anything that you've been viewing in a negative light, start viewing it in the positive light that it was your lesson to learn. If you can't hold any other gratitude for it or any other love and light, just know that it was your lesson to learn. You chose it, whether you realize it or not. And when we can just start to view our past in that way, we start to have a little bit more understanding about things that come along our way in the future, or the same situation will make a better choice, or we have better wisdom to move forward, so to say. Okay, let's talk about the present card. For the present, I actually pulled an upright card. I pulled the Four of Cups. So here's the Four of Cups. And with this card, we have the Chinese Emperor with the tail of the nightingale. Four of Cups represents a little bit of being distracted, of living in the clouds, of daydreaming, of kind of thinking that the grass will always be greener on the other side, and not really seeing things for how they are right now in this golden present moment. So the story of the nightingale goes that there was the Chinese emperor, and he heard this beautiful bird singing out in the forest, and he had to have it. He had to, know where this sound was coming from. And so people took him out to this nightingale in the forest, and he took the nightingale back to his kingdom, and he attached her to a gold string and put her in a cage, and she sung for him, and all was well. But then this robotic bird comes along that can also sing, and sing just as beautifully, if not better. And the emperor starts to enjoy the presence and the company of the robotic bird instead of the real deal. And so the nightingale leaves because she doesn't need to be there anymore, and she's not being paid attention to, and she's not important right now. And then guess what happens? The robot bird breaks, and the emperor doesn't have his beautiful bird songs anymore, and he wants the nightingale back. So they seek and seek and seek, and they can't find the nightingale. And then one day the emperor is on his deathbed, and the nightingale shows up, and she sings a song that brings him back to health. And he says, I must have you again. Like, he offers her the cage and the golden string, and she says, I really prefer to be free. And he allows her to do that. And they live happily ever after, friends for the rest of their life. So being this age of Aquarius, being this full moon in Aquarius in this very present moment, and pulling this present card with the nightingale and the Four of Cups, we are being reminded to see the present moment for the gold that it is, to have gratitude for this present moment, and to embrace a little bit of freedom as well, right? Knowing that Aquarians love to be free, they love to not be tied down, they love to roam the world, they love to experience new cultures, but they also do it out of the benefit of the collective, right? They share wisdom, they help raise the frequency of the entire world. We are being asked to do that right now. This Aquarian full moon in the age of Aquarius, and 1 of 2, is just really shining light on Aquarian archetypal energy. It's time for us to look at the collective. It's time to allow ourselves to live a very free-spirited, joyful life full of song and dance, but don't let it do detriment to the outer world. We also have to have an appreciation for everything that we have right now, or we will never be able to have appreciation for things moving forward. Let's talk about the future card. Our future card tonight is strength. So strength represents courage, right? But I also pulled this card inverted. So I had two inverted cards tonight. So for our future card, we have an inverted form of strength. And you can see that this girl here is wrestling some sort of beast that looks kind of like a lion. So, you know, we're in Leo season and we just began it. So for the next few weeks, we will continue to be in Leo season, the season of the lion. And we are being called into bravery. We are being called into courage. And we're being called to keep moving forward towards our destination and our path, kind of no matter what, to really like believe in ourselves and believe in our own fire and to keep moving forward. So the story behind this one, it's a Scottish fairy tale, and there's this girl, Janet. She's walking through the woods and she meets this beautiful man. They have a great time. She goes home. Later, she finds out she's pregnant. Her family kind of disowns her, tells her that she needs to go back out in the woods, whatever. So she leaves and she's trying to find this man. She finds him. She kind of confronts him. She's like, hey, you got me pregnant. Hey, like my family kicked me out. I don't have anywhere to go. And this guy says, well, my name is really Tamlin and I've been captured by the Fae. And the only way for me to be released is for you to wrestle me off my horse and to hold me down. So she decides to do that. So she waits the next day and all of the fairies are coming through and she sees Tamlin on the horse and she wrestles him off the horse and she holds him down and the Fae says, oh, it's not going to be that easy. This guy's my prisoner. And she starts turning him into all these different beasts so that Janet has to wrestle these beasts and continue to contain him. And it finally gets to the point where he turns into some sort of like lion, hippo, crocodile. And even then she persists and holds him down. And finally the Fae says, okay, I give up. You can have him. And she releases her spell. And Janet and Tamlin end up living happily ever after. He turns back into a man. They have many children and so on. So what can we learn from that from the future? Well, to keep going. Right? To keep going no matter what other people say, no matter what other people think, no matter how many times other people or even your outer voice, your little ego tells you, or your big ego tells you that you can't do it or you can't have it, to keep going and to embrace your strength. Now remember, I pulled the card reversed. When you pull the reversed form of strength, this is a little bit of a sign of, hey, you might have doubts about yourself in the future, or you may have too much pride. You might just get a big head and think that if you can wrestle this beast, you can do anything. The key is to find some sort of equilibrium, right? We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We don't want to think too big of ourselves, but we also don't want to think too little. So as we move through the rest of this lunar cycle, as we move through the rest of the solar season of Leo, it's really time to embrace your potential, to embrace your strength, and trust that you can go after your goals, that you can go after, the things that you desire, as long as they don't provide detriment to the collective, if that makes sense. I'm feeling a little all over the place today too, so hopefully things do make sense, because this air energy and Aquarian mixing with me has just got my brain a little scattered. I even found my past two classes, I was kind of tongue-tied when I was trying to teach. So let's just do a quick little review here. So we start with the Three of Cups for our past card, reminding us that we've gone through times of isolation. We've changed a lot of our relationships. And we may just need to look back at our ways of living in our past and believe that there were great lessons to live out of that we basically just chose that life, no matter how much darkness came out of it as a result. If we learn to see the wisdom and learn the lessons, then we can move forward looking at these stories with a different light. For the present, the Four of Cups. See the gifts that you have right now in the present. See what value your life has to offer you right now. Don't get too caught up in the other side, in the future, in the life will be better when, I will be happy when. Learn to find that gold in abundance now, because we are in the golden age. And for the future, find your strength. Find your willpower to keep going, even when you feel doubtful, even when others doubt you. You can succeed if you do persist. And also don't let it go to your head when you do. When you overcome the obstacles, when you find success, when you achieve your dreams. Be humble, be grateful, be thankful, and continue to live out of a beautiful, positive, radiant white light. So that is what I have for you today, tribe. We went a little over, so thank you for your patience tonight. Thank you for dealing with my scattered brain. Hopefully all of my words made sense tonight. I don't have anything else. If you do, please put it in the comments now. Any questions, comments, anything you want to know. Otherwise, we will release our guides and guardians of the directions, and we will seal our circle. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. So I'm going to go ahead and release these guides and guardians. Releasing the guides and the guardians of the ether and the cosmic realms. Thank you for showing us what we need to know. Thank you for giving us a different perspective. Thank you for showing up in our dreams and meditations to help us to understand the bigger picture. Thank you, guides and guardians of the ether and the cosmic realms, for being here. We also release the guides and guardians of the north, our ancestors and elders, those who have walked this path before us. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for showing us new ways to live and be. Thank you for helping us to let go of the ways that no longer serve, especially when it comes to the collective. Thank you, guides and guardians of the north, for being here. Thank you, guides and guardians of the west. We release you now with that element of water. Thank you for helping us to process and understand our emotions. Thank you for helping us to cleanse and purify this holy life and this holy vessel so that we can live it to our greatest potential. Thank you, guides and guardians of the west, for being here. We release the guides and guardians of the south as well with that element of fire and transformation. Thank you for bringing in your solar light codes with this full moon. Thank you for helping us to light our own fires of desire. Thank you for stoking and fanning the flames that help us continue to burn in this beautiful light that we are embodying. Thank you, guides and guardians of the south, for being here. And finally, we release the guides and guardians of the east and the element of air and that concept of new beginnings. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to start over even halfway through a lunar cycle. We always have the ability to begin again. Every dawn is a new day. And so we thank you, guides and guardians of the east, for being here now. And I just threw my phone off. Everything fell. I think that's it. I think, aho. And so it is. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for staying a little longer with me. Thank you for dealing with my impromptu desk that fell over at the very end of our cycle. Like, we're done. I will see you again on August 8th. That is a Sunday. We will be getting together again 7:30 Central Time here on this page to honor the new moon in Leo. We'll talk a little bit about the energy at that time of the cosmic lion and this sun energy that's ruling us so strongly right now. Thanks so much, Tristan. I'm so glad that you could tune in. It's good to see your beautiful face. It's been a long time. Hopefully next time I'm home we can get together. And thank you, Diane, for being here. Thank you, Lisa, for being here. Thank you, anybody else that's here on the replay or after the fact. I am sending you so many blessings with this full moon. May you find peace in this heightened time of prana. And until we meet again, namaste.